Shushrusho, one who is engaged in hearing. Shraddadhanasya, with care and attention. Vasudeva, in respect to Vasudeva. Katha, the message. Ruchihi, affinity. Syat, is made possible. Mahat Sevaya, by service rendered to pure devotees. Vipraha, O twice born. Punyatirtha, those who are cleansed of all vice. Nishevanat, by service. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. Purport: the conditioned life of a living being is caused by his revolting against the Lord. There are men called Deva or godly living beings, and there are men called Asuras or demons, who are against the authority of the Supreme Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, 16th chapter, is a vivid description of the Asuras given, in which it is said that the Asuras are put into lower and lower states of ignorance, life after life, and so sink to the lower animal forms, and have no information of the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. These Asuras are gradually rectified to God consciousness by the mercy of the Lord's liberated servitors in different countries according to the supreme will. Such devotees of God are very confidential associates of the Lord, and when they come to save human society from the dangers of godlessness, they are known as powerful incarnations of the Lord, as sons of the Lord, as servants of the Lord, or as associates of the Lord. But none of them falsely claim to be God themselves. This is a blasphemy declared by the Asuras, and the demoniac followers of such Asuras also accept pretenders as God or His incarnation. In the revealed scriptures, there is definite information of the incarnation of God. No one should be accepted as God or an incarnation of God unless he is confirmed by the revealed scriptures. The servants of God are to be respected as God by the devotees who actually want to go back to Godhead. Such servants of God are called Mahatmas or Tirthas, and they preach according to particular time and place. The servants of God urge people to become devotees of the Lord. They never tolerate being called God. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was God himself according to the indication of the revealed scriptures, but he played the part of a devotee. People who know him to be God addressed him as God, but he used to block his ears with his hands and chant the names of Lord Vishnu. He strongly protested against being called God. Although undoubtedly he was God himself, the Lord behaves so to warn us against unscrupulous men who take pleasure in being addressed as God. The servants of God come to propagate God consciousness, and intelligent people should cooperate with them in every respect. By serving the servant of God, one can please God more than by directly serving the Lord. The Lord is more pleased when he sees that his servants are properly respected, because such servants risk everything for the service of the Lord and so are very dear to the Lord. The Lord declares in the Bhagavad Gita 18:69 that no one is dearer to him than one who risks everything to preach his glory. By serving the servants of the Lord, one gradually gets the quality of such servants, and thus one becomes qualified to hear the glories of God. The eagerness to hear about God is the first qualification of a devotee eligible for entering the kingdom of God. By serving the servants of the Lord, one gradually gets the quality of such servants, and thus one becomes qualified to hear the glories of God. So, Hare Krishna, and I welcome all of you and also all the devotees from ISKCON Chennai who have joined us for this morning Srimad Bhagavatam class, and on their request we are having this class in English, and they have requested me to speak about Srila Prabhupada and his glories. So I'm going to be speaking about Srila Prabhupada's wonderful contribution as described in this beautiful verse. Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevanat. By serving devotees, one develops qualities of such devotees. So Prabhupada defines management as creating interest in Krishna consciousness when there is none. So, Srila Prabhupada, he was a grahastha having many children and had his own challenges and difficulties in the grahastha ashram, including financial difficulties. And one of his sons, he became mentally retarded, and he was roaming around in the streets of Kolkata. And Srila Prabhupada, during his grahastha days, was very much dedicated to spreading Krishna consciousness with full enthusiasm. So one of the disciples of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, Govinda Maharaj, at that time he was a brahmachari. He shared this experience that when he joined, and he was very young, and Srila Prabhupada was a very well respected senior grahastha, and Prabhupada would take him, the young brahmachari, with him for preaching. And he would tell Prabhupada that I don't even know how to give a lecture. But Prabhupada would say that you don't worry about that, but you are in saffron, people will respect that. So more people may come for the talk and may respect because of that. So he would take him with him, make him sit on the Vyasasan. The young brahmachari would sit on the Vyasasan. Prabhupada would ask him to sing kirtan. And Prabhupada would be in the audience. And after he would finish kirtan, then Prabhupada would turn towards the audience and give full lecture, sitting in the audience. And then he would tell everybody, you can go and, take the sadhu's blessings. So Prabhupada was, inspired to preach Krishna consciousness and share Krishna consciousness in every situation of his life. In fact, the first, one of the earliest base, just like we have now bases where youth stay. So Srila Prabhupada's house in Sitakant Banerjee Lane, on the first floor, Prabhupada had given out to the Gaudiya Math devotees to actually study Harinamamrit Vyakaran and others. So regular classes would be held. And one of Prabhupada's godbrothers, Saraswati Thakur's disciples, Dol Govinda Shastri, was teaching Sanskrit and Harinamamrit Vyakaran. And Prabhupada would sometimes sit and chant, on the outside staircase between the ground floor and the first floor. So Prabhupada was sitting and chanting, and Dol Govinda Shastri came out and sat next to Srila Prabhupada, and he said, Abhay Babu, I just gave a whole talk on Prithviti Achajat Nagaradi Gram Sarvatra Prachara Hoibe Moranam. In every town and village my glories will spread, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said. But I do not know how this will happen. Will it ever happen? So Prabhupada was, chanting. He just got up. He took 2 steps down from the staircase, turned to Dol Govinda Shastri, and he said, if Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has made that prediction, it will happen. Then Prabhupada went down 2 steps further, turned around, and he said, someday a fool who surrendered at the lotus feet of Srila Saraswati Thakur will make it happen. And then Prabhupada continued walking down. And then Dol Govinda Shastri started thinking, will that person be me? Because I am also Saraswati Thakur's disciple. He didn't say, he was just thinking. Prabhupada took 2 steps down, turned to Dol Govinda Shastri, pointed his hand and said, it will not be you. And Dol Govinda Shastri became very upset that what does he think? Abhay Babu, does he think he is going to do it? How can he do it? He is always thinking only of money, money and money and business. So that is what people in the Gaudiya Math, in the congregation, thought about Abhay Babu at that time. So therefore, I'll discuss today 5 principles on how to actually develop one's relationship with Krishna in the association of devotees and the purpose for which Srila Prabhupada has established ISKCON. Prabhupada has given us the 7 purposes, but all of those 7 purposes are centered around creating a facility for association of devotees. So that when we come in this association, as Prabhupada explains in the Nectar of Instruction, the exchange, just like the stock exchange, people come to exchange money. Like that, people come here to Krishna conscious society to exchange their faith in Krishna and grow their faith in Krishna. So, the first principle is that we have to appreciate the past. तदा तदहमीशस्य भक्तानां शम अनुग्रहम भक्तानां शम अभीप्सतम अनुग्रहम मन्यमान प्रातिष्ठम दिशमुत्तराम. All of us go through different experiences, and if our past experiences put us in a state of anger and frustration, then we will not be able to utilize our mental resources to remember Krishna. So when Narad Muni was with the Bhaktivedantis, he got the knowledge by which he could actually analyze the current situation of his mother departing when he was only 5 years old, which was extremely difficult for a small child to bear. But he did not look at this calamity as hopeless. He got hope from the words of the Bhaktivedantis. And what was that? Tada tadaham ishasya bhaktanam sham. I considered this to be Krishna's mercy, auspicious situation for me. Anugraha manyamana. That Krishna always desires auspiciousness for his devotees. And therefore, thinking like this, based on the faith in the words of the Bhaktivedantis, he went towards the northern direction. Dishtya bhrata prabayasa idanim prajasyate prajashaya nivrittasya prajatat samapadyata. When Vasudeva meets Nanda Maharaj, when Nanda Maharaj comes to pay the taxes of Kamsa, although Vasudeva has gone through such calamities of having lost 6 sons and even having lost the association of Krishna, who is now with Nanda Maharaj, he first acknowledges Nanda Maharaj's good fortune of having now a progeny. He uses the word dishtya, by good fortune. Pravayasa, although you are advanced in age, idanim aprajasyate, so far you never had a progeny. He doesn't say son because he knows I have kept the son there and brought the daughter. So Nanda Maharaj actually had a daughter. So therefore, if he says, how's your son? That would be a half-truth. And so Vasudeva doesn't mind speaking half-truth to Kamsa, who's a demon, but is extremely careful not to speak a half-truth to a Vaishnava. And therefore he says praja, praja, praja 3 times, which means progeny. And therefore he says dishtya. It is all under the influence of destiny, under the control of the supreme will. And therefore dishtya samsara chakresmin vartamana punarbhava upalabdho bhavanadya durlabham priyadarshamam. It is only by destiny that one is able to come together and spend time with those whom we love. Durlabham priyadarshanam. Otherwise, circumstances can make it difficult to spend time with those in whose association we experience great pleasure. Naikatra priyasam vasa suhridam chitrakaranam oghena vyuhamananam plavanam srotasoyatha. And just like various sticks floating in water come together by the waves of the river and the current, they are thrown apart. Like that, souls come together, spend some time, and they travel together in the flow of time factor, and they are thrown apart by the supreme will. We have no control over that. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada makes a very important point. Srila Prabhupada says, what are the symptoms of someone who is fixed up in devotional service? And Prabhupada mentions that such a person, in any situation, he never allows a person or a problem to hamper his service or discourage him in any way. So therefore, Dhautatma Purusha Krishna Pada Moolam na munchati mukta sarva pariklesha pantha swasharanam yatha. So Srila Prabhupada embodied such a spirit of someone who was totally fixed up in the instructions of his spiritual master, which he received in 1922. And he was actually able to execute in reality, in having gone to America only in 1965, nearly 43 years later. And so the time factor may make many changes, but the time factor does not allow a devotee to change his determination and his effort to serve and please the will of the Vaishnavas. And so Prabhupada mentions during the Juhu time, Prabhupada said one very interesting statement. He said, I may be discouraged, but I am not disappointed. But I cannot be disappointed. That means, yes, certain situations may be, pushing us a little bit on the back, but that doesn't stop us from making our efforts. So, in the midst of many present problems and difficulties, we may lose sight of the greatest asset we have with us, even when the greatest calamity is happening to us. And what is that greatest asset? That asset which any of the past emperors, kings, billionaires, the most powerful of all influential personalities would be willing to give all their wealth to get that asset from us today. What is that? The present moment which you and I share, which those in the past are no longer able to access. And in spite of giving all their wealth, they cannot get the present moment. And therefore, this present moment is the greatest asset which we have. And that's exactly what Srila Prabhupada tried to come and share with everybody. Whatever may have happened in the past, appreciate the past, but focus your present moment in thinking about Krishna, how I can serve Krishna and how I can please Krishna in the present moment. Kandiya kohe na shochi bachare nimai, Vishwarupa samana korihati thurai. So when Mahaprabhu takes sannyas and comes to meet Sachimata in Bengal, Sachimata says, please do not behave like Vishwarup, the way he did after accepting sannyas. What did he do? Sannyasi hoya punahna dila darshan, tumi taiche kaile mora hoibe maran. After taking sannyas, he never came and met me. If you do the same, I will die. So although Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taken sannyas only with the one-point agenda of going to Vrindavan and settling down after sannyas, but by hearing Sachimata's plea, Mahaprabhu says, Kaun diya bole na Prabhu, shuna mora ai, tomara sharira ek kichu nahi moy. He says that this body belongs to you. Tomar sharir ei mora kichu nahi doesn't belong to me. And Mahaprabhu at that point, although he has accepted the renounced order of life, demonstrates the greatest quality of renunciation. That the greatest renunciation is not to renounce wealth or clothes or house or family or hair But the greatest renunciation is the willingness to renounce our current existing plans and our ideas. Tomar palita deha janma toma hoite koti janma tomarin na parishodhite. And Mahaprabhu says, there is such a debt on my head that even after millions of lifetimes I will not be able to repay that debt. Tumi jaha kah ami tahai rahiba, tumi jai agya karo seito kariba. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the crest jewel of all renunciants, he presents his utterly humble attitude and says, Tumi jaha kaha, wherever you tell me to stay, ami tahai rahiba, there I will stay. Tumi jai agya kara, whatever order, instruction you give, ami seito kariba, I will do the same. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is demonstrating the absolutely super excellent quality of humility. And because of this, Lord Chaitanya is able to actually share this. Trinadapi sunichena, tarorapi sahishnuna, amanina manadena, kirtaniya, sada hari. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's plan, his dream, his transcendental obsession is to be in Vrindavan, to reclaim Vrindavan, to experience Vrindavan, to rejuvenate Vrindavan. But just after sannyas, Nityanand Prabhu diverts Mahaprabhu to Bengal, and in Advaita Acharya's house in Shantipur, Shachi Devi drops a bombshell that Vrindavan is too far. You should stay in Nilachal. That is very close. So Lord Chaitanya did not spend the rest of the time in frustration, in anger. Think, badal diya mera plan. All my plans have been finished. What is going on? Nityanand, you are responsible. Why did you change my direction? Who caused this? So therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in a mood of separation from Vrindavan, and he just appreciates the fact that yes, this is the Lord's arrangement. So Srila Prabhupada, when he wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam, right at the very beginning, introduction, he writes Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life sketch. And the purpose of that is to help us understand what are the qualities of a Bhagavat. Bhagavat is one who is able to see the will of Bhagavan in every situation. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada spent the major part of his time in writing the purports to the Bhagavatam. Because unless these beautiful purports are presented to the world, people will not understand how to react to various situations in life. So therefore, Bhagavatam is that book which helps us look at perspectives. It is basically like a lens. Bhagavatam is like our spectacles. So Srila Prabhupada wanted to give vision. Chakshur un militam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. Guru is the one who gives the right vision. Vision means to be able to see behind every situation the will of Krishna acting. And therefore Prabhupada spent significant time translating the Srimad Bhagavatam. And so, Prabhupada's disciples had set up a book table, and they wrote a letter to Srila Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, people are appreciating, the books like anything. And what we do is, we know that people will not immediately be interested in books, but they'll be interested in prasadam. So we set up a nice counter for prasadam, food for life. So people come and we feed them sumptuous prasadam. And after they are fed prasadam, they turn to the side and they see all these books lined up, stacked up, and they ask, what are these books? We show them the books. They love your books so much that they can't resist buying 2 books, 3 books, 4 books. They go on buying all these books because they are in doubt whether they'll get those books again. And so they go away with their hands filled with a stack of books. And Prabhupada immediately wrote back a reply to those book distributors saying that, yes, this is our philosophy and this is my mission. Hands full, stomach full, purse empty. You distribute these books and let people understand the essence of these books. That will transform people's consciousness. And that's exactly what, this Krishna Consciousness Society has manifested to provide. Prabhupada writes a beautiful letter to Gurudas Prabhu. Gurudas Prabhu was writing a letter appreciating the devotees, appreciating the opportunity he's getting to serve. Prabhupada replies back, very, very important letter. Prabhupada says that your mood of humble submission has been noted by me. And Prabhupada says this mood of humble submission which you are reflecting will create an experience of sweet transcendental pleasure in your life. Unless you demonstrate or implement humble submission in your life, you will, for the entire millions of lifetimes, will never be able to experience sweet transcendental pleasure. And then Prabhupada says, only those who are able to experience this sweet transcendental pleasure of the taste of Vrindavan, they will be able to overcome, number 1, their interest in material sense gratification, and number 2, they will be able to resist the impact of Maya. So the interest in the material world and the impact created by Maya can only be overcome when we experience this sweet transcendental pleasure which comes as an outcome of the genuine practice of Krishna consciousness, which is based on humble submission. And therefore, this humility which Mahaprabhu demonstrated, that yes, Mahaprabhu is Nimai Pandit, the Shrutidhar par excellence. When the Keshav Kashmiri spoke 100 verses, Mahaprabhu could remember those 100 verses and pick out verses which had fault and repeat it. Such memory, which very, very difficult to imagine. So Mahaprabhu was the topmost intelligent person of Navadvip. But when Sachimata is saying, stay here, not there, Mahaprabhu is not thinking, Arey, she's not sufficiently intelligent. Who is she to give me an idea? I know better than her. Because that is the default response of the intellect. What the hell this idiot knows? So therefore, when someone is proud of one's intellect, one thinks oneself to be better than all the others, and the result of that is one doesn't take instructions given seriously. And therefore, the first important principle is that we have to have that mood of humble submission as demonstrated by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Bhavanand Prabhu tells the story that, he thought, let me delight Srila Prabhupada by bringing the best rose oil which we get here in New York. So he went and got one bottle, small bottle. It was only a few milliliters. It was very expensive. And he thought Prabhupada will be impressed because I don't think he has ever seen anything like this before. This quality which is available in America, made in USA. So he came and said, Srila Prabhupada, I have brought you some rose oil. Prabhupada said, okay, what do you want me to do? He said, Prabhupada, just try it. So Prabhupada took it in his hand and he opened his right palm, opened the bottle and poured the entire bottle in his right palm, as Bhavanand Prabhu was looking shocked because this was supposed to last 6 months and you're supposed to take just a little bit, touch it and smell it. Prabhupada poured the whole thing and placed it on his head and started rubbing his head. And Bhavanand Prabhu said, Prabhupada, what are you doing? Prabhupada said, I'm just seeing how cool it is. And Bhavanand Prabhu said, okay, at least let me ask, Srila Prabhupada, how is it? This is the best quality I have got here. Prabhupada said, well, it's okay, but in Calcutta it is better. So Prabhupada would never lose an opportunity to help people rise above the bodily platform of having faith in their body, in their intelligence, in their assets, in their skills. Because only when we rise above that, we will be able to effectively respond to Krishna's desire. One devotee Prabhupada used to carry one small white suitcase in which all his personal assets used to be kept. Different documents and things like that. So this devotee was very much eager that I should get that white suitcase of Prabhupada as a Mahaprasad. So he thought, how will I go and ask him? He will not give. So let me play a trick. So he went to the shop and got one big suitcase. And he went to Prabhupada and he said, Srila Prabhupada, I have come to give you a nice gift of a big suitcase. I see that this suitcase is very small. This is a bigger suitcase. This can hold more items and it will be more efficient for you. Please take this bigger suitcase. So Prabhupada opened the big suitcase, put the small suitcase in and closed the big one. And then Prabhupada took both the suitcase in his hand, one inside another, went in front of the mirror, and Prabhupada stood there and he looked at this devotee and said, how do I look? How is this suitcase looking in my hand? And what could he say? He said, yes, it's looking very good. So Prabhupada did one parikrama of the room, stood there again, did this 3 times. Then Prabhupada turned to him and he said, you want the smaller suitcase? He said, yeah. So Prabhupada said, be honest. Don't try to play tricks. So therefore, the first quality which Prabhupada again and again emphasizes in the Srimad Bhagavatam purports, and also it is there in the original verses of the Bhagavatam, is Nirvyalika. Nirvyalika means without duplicity and with full honesty. And so the second quality is that once we appreciate the past, based on that appreciation, we are actually able to now empower the potential. And Srila Prabhupada did that. Whatever may have happened in the Gaudiya Math, he did not allow that to make him bitter. What is this? All my senior god brothers were in court. What is this? The person who was known as Saraswati Thakur's Ganesh, who practically wrote all the books of Saraswati Thakur by dictation. Saraswati Thakur would dictate, he would write. He had a photo memory. Such senior, powerful god brothers, all of them left and they are fighting and they have fall down and this and that. I don't have any mood to do this. So practically, if you see, in 1965, Prabhupada's opportunities to be inspired by many of his previous god brothers was not so much. He could have felt disillusioned that, oh, they didn't follow Saraswati Thakur's order, or they did this, they did that. So we have a tendency to blame the circumstances and the situation. And so we miss the potential of the present moment. And so Srila Prabhupada, he was totally focused on remembering the instructions from the past and carrying it in the present and protecting that faith, that enthusiasm, that inspiration from being hijacked and attacked by any present negativity. And therefore, just like Vasudeva and Devaki sacrificed to protect Krishna, like that we have to do everything to protect our fledgling faith in Krishna consciousness. So, the second is to empower the potential. And Prabhupada, he decided, I will go to the West with 40 rupees, whatever is there. Whatever situation Krishna provides, we will make the best use of it. In the history of this creation, spirituality has never spread on the foundation of assets and strategy. It has only spread on the foundation of individual, intense inspiration. And as Prabhupada calls it, which is spontaneous and voluntary. And therefore, if there is a burning, intense desire within someone that come what may, I will continue trying to serve the instructions of the predecessor acharyas, then the entire creation moves to facilitate that. Sadhyo nashta smritir gopi saropyaroham atmajam pravruddha sneha kalila hridayasit yathapura. So when Yashoda Mai sees that, Krishna has shown the entire Brahmanda within his mouth, so she's bewildered. So Krishna is very much, afraid that Yashoda Mai, after seeing this Vishwarupa or these universes within my mouth, should not start worshipping me. And I will lose that sweet rasa of being nourished by Yashoda Mai. So immediately he reposes and brings her Vatsalya back. And again she looks at Krishna as my dependent child. Trayacha Upanishadbhischa Sankhya Yogaischa Satvataihi Upagiyamana Mahatmyam Harersa Amanyatatmajam. All the three Upanishads, the Vedas, the three Vedas, Upanishads, the Sattvatas, all of them glorify Lord Vishnu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Harersa Amanyata Atmajam, she saw Krishna as my child, an opportunity for me to serve him, nourish him, and protect him. And therefore, each one of us has to deal with our present opportunities like that. We have to see the potential of the opportunities I have received now. Every situation we can look at either with a mood of skepticism, cynicism, and hopelessness, or with the mood that, yes, this is a great opportunity for me. Right? This program I have received, this seva I have received, this particular sangha I have received. What an opportunity. See the potential. So 3 things which prevent people from reaching their potential is, first, they get self-doubt. Will I be able to do it? I never been able to do such things in the past, forget it. So the self-doubt is the biggest culprit. Second is, one begins, but one doesn't have the consistency, so one gives up early. And third is, one is not pushing oneself hard enough. And these three things prevent one to not experience our full potential. And actually, when do things manifest positively? How do successful projects and situations turn around and become successful? When a person commits to the situation. In the present, I don't see anything, but I'm willing to empower the potential by my commitment. So, Prabhupada met Saraswati Thakur in 1922. He got initiated in 1933. He started the Back to God, in 1944. He took Vanaprastha in 1955. He started ISKCON in 1966. So 1922 to 1966 journey, it's a lifetime in preparation. The actual execution from the second canto writing onwards till establishing 108 temples, everything happened in that 11 years. 66 to 77. Time magazine had brought out an issue on, successful people who began their career or the career for which they became famous for after 70. And Prabhupada's name came in that. Usually 67, 70 is the period of retirement. And Prabhupada established the whole ISKCON, but that happened because of a lifetime of commitment. So that's the most important principle, that we should make the right choices. Someone asked Srila Prabhupada, why did the jiva fall? And Prabhupada said, causeless stupidity. Causeless stupidity. And someone, was arguing with Prabhupada. You're telling us chant, 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 but what is the difference? It is only vibration. The effect of chanting is coming mainly because of the repetition, not because there is something special in Hare Krishna or something. You repeat any word, you will get the same effect. So instead of chanting, I prefer counting. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I will count. I will count numbers. I'll get the same effect. What do you say? Prabhupada said, yeah. You continue counting. When you become fed up, start chanting. So the process of chanting is an spiritual process which brings out the soul's innate tendency to commit to Krishna's eternal service. And therefore, when do people decide to commit? Number one, I am going to keep going till this works. I am just going to keep striving and struggling till this works. Second, no matter what challenges are there, I'll figure the solution out. One is determined to continue. And third, they are persistent long enough. And then when those only are persistent for a long period of time, then opportunities which come their way can be identified by them. And therefore, that is something to Srila Prabhupada's credit, that he demonstrated persistence in the midst of problems in family life, persistence in the midst of problems in his business life, persistence in the midst of problems and conflicts in the Gaudiya Math. He just said, I am committed to Srila Saraswati Thakur's, Thakur Bhakti Vinod's and Mahaprabhu's mission of spreading this in Western countries, and I'll continue no matter what. So that commitment is something which is extremely significant. And when Prabhupada first went to America, what opportunities was he getting? He was not like having a room full of people waiting for him. In his diary, if you see, Prabhupada writes, the early diaries in 1965-66 period. Today, two people came for the program. They seem to appreciate prasad. So they seem to appreciate prasad. So he didn't think, अरे वही लोग आए, program fail हो गया. So when only two people come, we may think, oh, nobody is coming. But Prabhupada had enthusiasm. And then he was cooking. And then after a few months, one devotee, one of the initial hippies, he came up and told Prabhupada, do you need any help in washing these plates and dishes? Prabhupada said, for a long time I was thinking, when will someone offer this? So in 1967, Prabhupada was one of the senior most disciples of Saraswati Thakur. He could have very easily gone from one Gaudiya Math to another Gaudiya Math giving lectures because he was not involved in any of the party politics. As a sannyasi, he could have just been given guest room everywhere. He could have just had a nice time. But he realized that spiritual life and bhakti means moving out of the comfort zone. And therefore, a comfortable situation and devotional service go ill together. Just as Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness and sense gratification go ill together. So Prabhupada was, willing to push and strive and do whatever it took to spread this Krishna consciousness movement everywhere. So, from New York, they went to, Prabhupada was called to San Francisco. Just things opened up. In San Francisco, Shyam Sundar Prabhu organized like a Avalon ballroom, program. And then also there were few other events like this. So one event was, there was a rock show, proper rock show. And they were all debating, should we go or not? Prabhupada said, will they allow us to chant? They said, yes, then we'll go. So Prabhupada did not have any context of what a rock show would be. He just went. And then as soon as he entered, the whole room was filled with smoke. It was not agarbatti. It was all, intoxication. And then Prabhupada saw that on the stage, someone had worn a yellow dress and was dancing. All of them were dancing with a yellow dress. Prabhupada said, what is this? They said, this is banana dance. They have dressed themselves up as banana and they are dancing. Prabhupada said, banana dance? What does it mean? So they said, the hippies just found out that when you take banana peel and put fire under the banana peel and burn the banana peel, the smoke which comes out, if you inhale, it gives the same effect as LSD. So they are celebrating this. Prabhupada started laughing that in India I heard about banana, I ate banana, never heard this effect of banana. So then after the lecture and program, Prabhupada, when he came back, again he was sitting with the devotees and laughing that when I came here to America, I did not know what all I will experience. And what a unique description of banana I heard today. And the devotee said, Prabhupada, the hippies have made one offer. They said they want to donate one box of bananas every day to our Jagannath. But in return, they want the peels back. Should we accept it? Prabhupada again started laughing. He said, what kind of, strange situations we are put in a place where the Vedic culture is not understood. But because they have a mood to give, so we should accept it. So Prabhupada just empowered the potential. Wherever he saw the spark, take it. Prabhupada was coming to Vrindavan, and so Prabhupada, landed in Delhi. So Tejas Prabhu was there, and he came with a garland to offer to Prabhupada. And as he was about to garland, Prabhupada said, stop. So Tejas Prabhu stopped. And the whole press was there, everybody was there, and he's like standing with a garland above Prabhupada's head. And Prabhupada is sitting there and he's saying, stop. So it was a very strange situation. And Prabhupada said, have you transferred the book fund amount from your book distribution to the BBT? Then Tejas Prabhu got bewildered. Is this the time for this query? And then he thought about for some time, he said, yes, Prabhupada, we have transferred. Prabhupada said, you may garland me. And Prabhupada had set up a system by which regular contributions had to go to the book fund. And Prabhupada gave tremendous emphasis on his writing and presenting these books, because only by studying these books and reading these books, people would transform. And so Prabhupada utilized the adventurous spirit of those in the West, to actually spread Krishna consciousness by distributing these books and going to places and establishing Krishna conscious centers. Somebody asked Srila Prabhupada that we see that you Hare Krishnas, you don't work. Why don't you work? And Prabhupada said, a rich man's son doesn't work. And Prabhupada said, we are serving Krishna and we are busy working for Krishna and trying to please him, and Krishna takes care of everything. And so Prabhupada established Krishna consciousness all over the world on the basis of sharing these books and distributing this knowledge. Vidya bhakti buddhi bole parama pravin tabu apanak mane trina hoite hin. So Mahaprabhu also saw the potential in Rupa and Sanatan to present these literatures and excavate and rejuvenate Vrindavan. Tara dainya dekhi shuni pashana bidare ame tushta hoya tabe kohilu duhare. So Mahaprabhu says, although Rupa and Sanatan had Vidya, Bhakti, Buddhi, Bal, but I was impressed by their humility, their willingness to surrender. And so Srila Prabhupada also spread Krishna consciousness movement across the world because he had these 5 leadership qualities. The first was Prabhupada was extremely humble. Second, he was supremely enthusiastic. He was willing to take any opportunities which came his way. Third, Prabhupada would appreciate all the devotees. Fourthly, Prabhupada recognized excellence. Although he appreciated everybody, he recognized excellence. And fifth, Srila Prabhupada, he was willing to give creative freedom. And any leader who demonstrates these 5 qualities will be able to grow the Krishna consciousness movement in a particular place. And Prabhupada demonstrated, one devotee came and told Prabhupada that the hippies have donated a bus. Because Prabhupada said, I want a traveling Sankirtan bus party. So the hippies donated a bus means it was a completely dilapidated, broken down bus. And Prabhupada came to see that there was no paint, there was no, window panes, there was no door, and there was no front glass also. And there was only one seat for Prabhupada to sit. So the driver was there and one more seat. And there was no seat also, only driver's seat was there. So when Prabhupada came in, he said, where will I sit? So they ran inside and got a chair from the temple. And Prabhupada said, this will move. So Brahmanand Prabhu sat down and held the chair and said, no, it will not move. You sit. And so the devotee sat in the driver's seat and switched on the ignition. And suddenly the smoke started coming out of the dashboard. And Prabhupada looked at him and said, oh, looks like an Indian bus. So that devotee had never been to India. He thought Prabhupada is glorifying. And he really liked this. When 4 years later he came to India, he realized what Prabhupada meant. But whatever potential was there, Prabhupada said to Giriraj Maharaj, anybody gives you anything, do not refuse, however small that contribution may be. however small that contribution may be. Pranair arther dhiya vacha shreya acharanam sada. Right? And Jayanand Prabhu used to follow this. And one person would come and assist in the Rath Yatra making. And what was the seva Jayanand Prabhu gave him? Hold the nail. खीला को पकड़ के रखो. Hold the nail as I hammer. That is the only seva. Hold the nail. And that is how this young person began his connection with Krishna consciousness movement. And that person has now become His Holiness Jayapatak Swami Maharaj. So, he was sharing this in 2008 when he came to Chopati, that, even a small contribution as we begin in the Krishna consciousness movement, things expand. Giriraj Maharaj said, when Prabhupada told me, just after that I had to go to do fundraising from some donor in Kolkata. So he wanted to visit the Birla family. But how will I visit? So he approached another, rich person and was asking him for donation. But this person said, no, I'm not in a position to give. So Giriraj Swami said, give me something at least. So he said, I have a brand new ambassador car. I can give you that car to use for a day. So Giriraj Maharaj started thinking, oh, such a rich guy. He could have given anything. He's giving a car, not car, take it and use it for Mayapur. Giving it for a day. So sometimes when reciprocation doesn't come as per expectation, we become so frustrated. We don't want. He said, okay, you want to give for a day? No problem. He used that car with the driver, sat in the back seat, said, go to the Birla house. So the brand new white ambassador car went. And the guards who were guarding the gate at the Birla house saw brand new ambassador car. That time means only with a chauffeur. Some big person thought, okay, Birla Babu, some friend has come. Opened the door. So that car helped him enter the gates. He entered inside, then he saw a small boy. And he asked, where is your father? So he said, yeah, I'm going to call your father and grandfather. And then Giriraj Maharaj gave him sweets, talked to him nicely. Then the top Birla person came and he explained about the Gurukul building they want to start in, Mayapur, the school. So for that they need funds. So he heard about it and said, we'll help you. Then Giriraj Maharaj went away. Then there was no reciprocation for some time. So he called the landline number of their home. So this small boy picked up the call. And then he said, do you remember me? I had come. He said, yeah, of course, you gave me such nice sweets. Where are you? When are you coming again? He said, yeah, I'll come. If you can go and remind your father, there is a pending check. He had said he will give. He has not yet given. Can you recommend? He said, yeah, of course, you are such nice uncle. I will tell. So he went and pushed his father, and in a week's time, 25,000 rupees first check for that project came. That time it was a big amount, 1971. So, Giriraj Maharaj writes that he got the full conviction that whenever someone offers something, do not refuse. Accept it, however small it may be. And therefore, when Mahaprabhu meets Srila Rupa Goswami, and then he sees his amazing ability to understand his heart, at that time Ramananda Rai says to him that you must have definitely given your mercy to him. And Mahaprabhu says, Prabhu kahe iho amaye prayage milila, yogya patra jani ihai kripa to koila. Knowing him to be a proper candidate, I bestowed my mercy upon him. And so Ramananda Rai also confirms, he says, that tate jani purve tomar paya che prasad ताहा विना नहे तुम्हार hriday anuvad. Just by seeing how he has managed to translate your heart's desire. Taha vina nahi tomar hriday anuvad. So beautiful word is used. Hriday anuvad. How do you translate someone's heart's desire? It is unspoken. It is there in the heart. Tate jani payache prasad. He has received your mercy. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada was able to do this, Hriday Anuvad. He was actually able to translate Srila Saraswati Thakur's desire by establishing the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. This is an indication and proof that he received Srila Saraswati Thakur's blessings and grace. And so Thakur Bhaktivinoda writes, when that day will come when people from Germany, Europe, and England, America will come together and chant the holy names together. And Prabhupada actually translated that desire of the previous acharyas. So he would empower the potential. Yes, there were faults, there were shortcomings, there were many things which were not proper, but Prabhupada saw the potential and empowered it. Prabhupada went to New Zealand, and the devotees there were very creative. They got inspired by the deity worship which began in Australia first. So they also thought we will do some deity worship, and they had Gaur Nitai, but they had desire to establish Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra also. The altar size was very small. So they thought, let us do something creative. In this small space, how can we put both Gaur Nitai and Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra? Let us create revolving altar. So they put a motor underneath the altar, and the altar would move. So in front was Gaur Nitai, back to back was Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra. Never in history of deity worship, such an idea was created. And when you would press the button, it would move. So Prabhupada came, he offered obeisances to Gaur Nitai. When he got up, he saw Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra. He got bewildered. And he said, what is this? So the devotees said, we tried to adjust both the deities within the space with our idea. Prabhupada said, these are deities, not rolling stone. And then Prabhupada said, yes, your enthusiasm to worship is very good, but these are certain regulations also which we need to follow, where you cannot just keep moving the deity on a platform which is constantly changing. So Prabhupada tried to adjust within whatever was available. So when Mahaprabhu tells Sanatana Goswami that Krishna Bhakti, Krishna Prema Seva Pravartan, Lupta Tirtha Uddhara Ara Vairagya Shikshan, that your body, Tomara Sharir Mora Pradhana Sadhan is the main instrument through which I am going to execute Krishna Bhakti, Krishna Prema Seva Pravartan, establish lost holy places of pilgrimage and establish all these things. So therefore, Lupta Tirtha Uddhar, excavate lost holy places. So just as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu encouraged Sanatana Goswami, inspired Rupa Goswami, so that they go and establish the mission. He saw their potential, and if they were feeling hopeless and helpless, Mahaprabhu encouraged them, empowered them. And therefore, patience has two definitions. The first definition of patience is the ability to bear pains or trials calmly without complaining. The ability to bear pain or trial calmly without complaint. And second, to be steadfast despite any opposition or a difficulty. So, how do we improve our patience? There are 5 things we can do to improve our patience. First is stop resisting the situation. Stop resisting. Second, and instead of resisting, try to respond than react. Secondly, meditate on what will be the effects of showing impatience. Thirdly, look for the positive possibilities in the negativity. Fourthly, utilize the available resources and situation with gratitude. And fifth, befriend the situation. And when we actually proceed in that, if you read Lilamrita, you will see Srila Prabhupada demonstrating all of this. Till the time he began Krishna consciousness movement, and after Krishna consciousness movement began also, whatever opportunities, when again and again people were saying, you will not get permission to start a temple in Juhu. Prabhupada said, if the municipality does not give us permission to start a temple, we will set up a book depot, a book go down here, and our buses will fill up the books and go around and distribute books all over Mumbai and come back here. I will convert the temple proposal to a bus station, to a book depot. But you cannot stop our preaching movement. So he would demonstrate that again and again. And therefore, when Prabhupada gave Lokanath Maharaj sannyas, then after taking sannyas, Lokanath Swami Maharaj came to meet Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, now that you have taken sannyas, you have to travel and preach. Do these 4 things without duplicity. If you do these 4 things without duplicity, then your preaching will be effective and people will take you seriously. Your preaching will be effective and people will take you seriously if you do these 4 things. What are these 4 things? Manmana, Bhavamad Bhakto, Madhyaji, Mam, Namaskuru. Remember Krishna. Become devotee of Krishna. Worship Krishna, Madhyaji, Mam Namaskuru, and respect Krishna. So if you do these 4 things without duplicity, honestly, automatically things start opening up. So therefore, these are very important instructions which he gave. And in the initial years, Brahmanand Prabhu mentions, Prabhupada was typing everything with his own hand. It was going very slow. And there were so many manuscripts also which were handwritten, which Prabhupada had written, and he was thinking, how will all this get typed? So many manuscripts to type. So then, at that point, when Prabhupada started recording, then he went to the next level of transcripts. Of Prabhupada was like doing in dictaphone. And that started increasing the speed like anything, but nobody could keep pace of transcribing what Prabhupada was every night speaking into the dictaphone. So at that time, they were just wondering how will this happen. And suddenly one young boy walks in. His name was Neil. And he said that I am from this nearby college and I've got a summer vacation and I'm asked to serve in some voluntary organization. And I want to offer my 3 months of seva, of service. Will you accept? Do you accept volunteers? And Brahmanand Prabhu said, okay, yeah, we can do it something. He was thinking like maybe wash pots or, clean up and this and that. He just said, okay, what are your skill sets? What do you do best? He said, transcription. He said, what? You can transcribe? He said, yeah. The same speed at which the person is speaking, I can type at that speed. Brahmanand was bewildered. He just got all of Prabhupada's those tapes And this Neil was the one who typed the entire original manuscripts of Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion, Ishopanishad, and teachings of Lord Chaitanya. The original from Prabhupada's voice into print, the first was done by him. Right? And he just came in, and then after 3 months, all the books were transcribed and it went into editing process and all. He disappeared, never to be seen. So whoever came, Prabhupada engaged effectively. Third is respect the differences. That yes, there may be differences between us. There may be difference of opinion with those who are leading the mission on how the mission should be led, how the project should be led. Even senior disciples of Srila Prabhupada had differences with Prabhupada about Juhu land. And they said, why is he so attached to this particular piece of land? It should be given back. It's too much of botheration. So there may be differences, but respect the differences and work together. So it could be anurupa. We may expect compatibility based on being from the same place, same country, same race, same color, whatever. Or the expectation may be anuguna. As per our qualities and nature, we should be matching, and then only we can work together. Or it may be abhimata, that our thought process and our behavior match. But Krishna consciousness is beyond these considerations. And therefore Prabhupada said, you can show your love for me by how you cooperate and rise above abhimata, abhiguna and abhirupa, various factors for compatibility. And the best example is Sudama was with Krishna, but Krishna became Dwarkadish and Sudama remained a penniless beggar. Kuchailam malinam kshamam dvijam dhamani santatam devi paricharat sakshat chamara vyajanena vai. Absolutely poverty stricken, and Rukmini Devi is offering chamar, and all the residents of Dwarka are bewildered. Kim manena kritam punyam avadhutena bhikshuna shriya hinena lokesmin garhitena adhamena cha. Is he pious or impious? If he is pious, how is he poverty stricken? If he is impious, how is he getting Krishna's reciprocation like this? They were bewildered. But Krishna treated him with respect and affection, and on the way back, Sudamaji is remembering, Kwa chaham, kwaham daridra papiyan, kwa Krishna Sri Niketana, Brahma bandha itusmaham, bahubhyam parirambhita. He said that Krishna did not think that he is Dwarkadhish and looked down upon me. Krishna embraced me with his arms. Who am I? Daridra, Papiyan, Kwa Krishna, who's Krishna? Sri Niketana. Brahma Bandhu itismaham. I'm an unqualified, member of a family of the Brahmanas. Still Krishna accepted me. So therefore, this is something which Srila Prabhupada emphasized a lot. If ISKCON has to go to the next level, unity in diversity, respect the differences. How can we do that? In fact, only the one who has when one gets the ability to respect differences, you can be convinced that I am rising above the material platform and coming to the Krishna conscious spiritual platform. That is the minimum proof I am rising above, because material platform means differences. And therefore 4 principles of spirituality is, first is humility. And only on the basis of humility one can actually get transcendental knowledge within one's system. Second is one must have simplicity. Simplicity includes austerity and to decrease one's artificial necessities. Third is one must also develop humanity, which basically means to overcome our cheating propensities and cheating tendencies, and to improve our own habits. It's humanity. And fourth is that we must develop a spirit of community, which basically means share the knowledge with others, share the knowledge with the next generation, set the good example for the next generation and others to follow suit, and protect the younger children and others from various bad habits. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he actually saw this diversity in this reciprocation between him and Vasudev Datta. Parama udara iho je dine ye aise, sei dine vyaya kare nahi rakhe sheshe. Mahaprabhu said Vasudev Datta is very compassionate, so compassionate he gives away all the money, doesn't keep anything. And therefore he looked at Shivananda Sen and he said, Grihastha hoye na iho chahiye sanchay, sanchay na koile kutumba bharan nahi hoye. If as a Grihastha he does not save money, then how will he maintain his Grihastha ashram? And therefore, you, Shivananda Sen, become the finance controller of his household account. So therefore, one of the most compassionate personalities, but even such an exalted soul cannot think, I am above dependence on the Vaishnav community. Mahaprabhu made Vasudev Datta subservient to Shivananda Sen for certain aspects which was not his strength. So many times whatever is our strength also becomes the soil for sprouting our weaknesses. That thing for which one is well known also becomes the cause by which others become upset with us. And therefore, that respecting of differences is very important. Someone asked Srila Prabhupada, why is it why we find so many young people joining ISKCON? Prabhupada said, why are so many young people joining university? So the reporter said, well, that is the age to learn. Prabhupada said, same. Krishna consciousness means we are trying to teach people how to learn. And therefore, we are trying to tell them, this is it. So, one of the greatest challenges Prabhupada faced was the differences in philosophy which would be produced in front of him, and people getting affected by that philosophy. Prabhupada was in a program in India, and he was on the stage, and there were many other speakers speaking various philosophies. There was a big, pandal fan. India has changed a lot, but many things have not changed, including the fan which is put by the pandal guys, the big one, which makes more sound than the sound system. So that big fan was moving. And this speaker was speaking and Prabhupada could not hear properly. So Prabhupada turned his eyes towards the fan. And the devotee understood that, oh, Prabhupada wants the fan to be switched off. The devotee went and immediately told the pandalwala, switched off the fan. Then Prabhupada started hearing. After hearing few seconds, Prabhupada again turned his eyes towards the fan. So the devotee went and told the pandalwala, switch on the fan. The guy speaking says that he doesn't want to hear. So Prabhupada, he was very particular, because at that point people were getting bewildered by many options, and he didn't feel people will be able to grow when they just are exposed to so much of variety right at the very beginning. Prabhupada landed in Los Angeles, and a reporter came up and said, Swamiji, what do you think about so many Indian Swamis and Gurus and philosophies which are coming to America? Prabhupada said, they are all bogus. This reporter got bewildered. Prabhupada kept walking. He was so shocked, he stood there. And then he started chasing behind Prabhupada, said, Swamiji, I have to write a full article on that. One word is not sufficient. You have to tell me more about all of them. Prabhupada said, one more thing, they are rascal also. And this person was so bewildered, he dropped his idea of writing an article. So then, when Prabhupada was in the last days in Vrindavan, he said, yes, during my preaching, I have used many heavy words, but I used many of those heavy words mainly so that I can protect many of your faith from getting bewildered by other philosophies like that. So, similarly, Prabhupada was very heavy about the moon landing issue also. And someone came and said to Prabhupada, one disciple, Srila Prabhupada, they have started selling land on the moon. And looks like in a few years' time there will be people settling in the moon. What will ISKCON do when that happens? Prabhupada said, we'll go and distribute books there. And then he said, it is never going to happen. And so he was standing up to defend the philosophy and especially against impersonalism. Giriraj Maharaj was in Chennai, since this is being watched by the devotees in Chennai. And many people advised him, here in South India, Shankaracharya is very prominent, impersonalism is very prominent. Don't be heavy against impersonalism here. Otherwise, you will be considered irrelevant. So he said, okay. But he had a doubt. Prabhupada is always heavy about impersonalism. So he wrote a letter to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, what do you think? How should I respond when people start speaking impersonalistic philosophy and things like that, and Mayavad and all that? And then he posted the letter to Prabhupada. And then after a couple of days, he went to meet, one particular very rich person in his house. So he went to his house. Within the house only, that rich man had his own office cabin. So he went there, on the table, opened the suitcase, kept various books of Srila Prabhupada and started explaining about the books. This man also said, oh wow, wonderful books. Saw the books, and then he said, excellent books, but there is one problem. Swami Prabhupada has not referred to Shankaracharya. This is not good. Shankaracharya is the foremost of all acharyas, and nothing about him and his perspective is mentioned. Only one particular perspective is mentioned. This is not proper. And then Giriraj Maharaj was hearing, and then he was remembering. People said, don't argue about impersonalism. This is South India. So he tolerated for some time. And then that person continued, his lecture. And then after some time, Giriraj Swami said, this is enough. He said, actually, we are following Lord Chaitanya's Achinta Bheda Ved philosophy. And saying like that, he started smashing Mayavad arguments, started smashing all the impersonalistic conceptions. And for half an hour, he kept quoting all that he had heard from Prabhupada, and he just lost control. And then he collected all the books, put it inside the suitcase, closed the suitcase, turned around, and he went away and started going out of the house. And as he reached the door, this man said, wait. And he waited, because Giriraj Maharaj said, after being chastised so much, nobody will become member. So this man said, come inside. And he went with him inside the room. And then inside the room, there was an altar. This man opened the curtain, and there was Radha Krishna deities. And he was bewildered. He's never thought he'll see Radha Krishna deities here in a house in Chennai. And he said, this man said, actually, I'm a Vaishnava, but I'm so much bewildered by everybody compromising with impersonalistic philosophy and Mayavad philosophy, that I was also wanting to test whether you are also in the same category. But I see that you are extremely bold in defending Vaishnava philosophy, and you're not willing to compromise, and you spoke heavily defending Vaishnava philosophy. I'm impressed, and I become the member. Take the check, rupees 1111. That was the life membership amount at that time. And Giriraj Maharaj came back. He was very happy that he's actually defended the Vaishnava philosophy. When he came back, Prabhupada's reply had come. And then in the reply, Prabhupada said, factually, among spiritualists in India, the impersonalist philosophy is the most popular. But my Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, never compromised. Following in his footsteps, I have not compromised. And I request all of you also, do not compromise. And Giriraj Maharaj had the letter in one hand and the check in another hand. And he felt very satisfied that he followed the instruction of not compromising. And therefore, this requires determination, that how do we negotiate these differences and make sure that at the same time we follow our philosophy properly. So the three building blocks of determination is, first is the philosophy, where the purpose behind whatever practice of Krishna consciousness is to be properly understood. Second is the people with whom we associate, and these people, the people who walk their talk. And we should remember that without that association we cannot maintain our journey in the long run. And third is the practice, which is the regular practice of Krishna consciousness, come what may. So it is the philosophy, the people, and the practice of Krishna consciousness which will actually unleash the determination within. And so we are very grateful to Srila Prabhupada that he gave us the ISKCON society. And in 1970, November, Srila Prabhupada visited the Golden Temple. And then, Prabhupada specifically went to Golden Temple because it's a very old institution. And Prabhupada interestingly noted three things. First thing he noted was their chapati making machine. How they are feeding chapatis. At that time, however, they were feeding chapatis. So Prabhupada noted that, how they are feeding. Second is how they are maintaining their chappal stand. And people are serving there. And you give the footwear and they clean it and give it back. And third was how they manage the crowd control. So Prabhupada was always willing to take best practices from different places and improve ISKCON as an institution. And he actually wanted his devotees to take this very, very seriously. The devotees were doing Harinam in Australia, and in Australian society they just couldn't understand this different dress and different chanting in the open public. So the police arrested them and put them in jail. So Gurudas Prabhu was there, he was brought in front of the judge. And, the judge said, okay, all your things, why the hell you guys are like chanting here like this in the open? He says, well, that is our religion. Our religion demands that we distribute this with everybody. And then he quoted Prativitya Cheta Nagaradigram and Chare Dekhe Yare Kahu Krishna Upadesh. So the judge was bewildered to hear philosophy coming from this Western person, looks Western, but is speaking Indian philosophy. So then he went on preaching to the judge, and then finally the judge said, okay, all that is fine, but do you guys have to dress so weird? Why your dress is like this? That's why people are getting disturbed, because it is totally different dress. Therefore the police got confused and want to put you inside. Why you have to dress like this? Gurudas Prabhu looked at the judge and said, Your Honor, why do you have to judge like this in the black? Because you represent justice system, so you have a certain dress. We represent God, we have our own dress. The judge immediately said, case dismissed. Release them. Another city in Australia, when the devotees were caught doing Harinam, brought in front of the judge, the police was making an argument. These people are destroying the peace in the city. The judge said, The whole city is full of same kind of people, the same dress they are wearing, the same kind of morose, frustrated look they are having on the face. These guys have a happy face and their orange color is adding color to the city. Case dismissed. And therefore, my uncle who's in America from 1970 in Boston, he was telling me like a year back, I used to see the Hare Krishnas doing kirtan in the streets a lot in the 70s and 80s. I don't see them nowadays. Why we don't see them so much? They would add to the color, in the city. So Srila Prabhupada actually revolutionized, Sanatan Dharma by giving it a global outreach all over the world. And so this is the third thing, respecting the difference. And fourth is tolerate the unchangeable. What cannot be changed, you have to tolerate. And therefore, aham mamaso patiresha me suto brajeshwarasya vittapasati. When Yashodamai sees that in spite of my repeated efforts to protect Krishna, I am not able to protect him. So she just said, okay, let me just tolerate, understand that he is the cause of all causes. Prabhupada says, that is how you can tolerate the unchangeable. Know that he is the ultimate cause of all the causes. So Radhanath Maharaj in one of his conversations was sharing the 4 principles of positive thinking. The first principle is acceptance. That you have to accept the unfortunate situation as a reality. Beyond our control. If you do not accept it, you cannot begin the journey of positivity. The second principle is optimism. Look at the silver lining on the cloud so that you will avoid cynical behavior. Third is gratitude for all the gifts which we have received so far. And the fourth principle is appreciation. That genuine appreciation and encouragement of others. If we become absorbed in trying to encourage others, we will forget our own feeling of discouragement. And therefore, this is very important for our journey in our progress. Prabhupada was in Vrindavan and one god brother, there was, some of the Western devotees, young people doing yajna. So one senior god brother of Prabhupada was sitting next to Prabhupada and he whispered into Prabhupada's ear, this Western young brahmachari, he's chanting all the mantras wrong. Prabhupada whispered back, he's only practicing. Let him continue. He'll improve. So his god brother said, okay. So Prabhupada was always looking at how they can improve. And therefore Prabhupada gave that, encouragement to them. One of the reporters was asking Prabhupada, we heard that Lord Ram ate meat when he was in the forest. Why you are promoting vegetarianism so much? Prabhupada said, Ram can eat the entire universe including you. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But you cannot use those principles for conditioned souls in this world. And so, this tolerance of the situation is something which Prabhupada also demonstrated. And in whatever situation, Prabhupada would tolerate whether it was favorable or unfavorable. Prabhupada was in Germany, he was giving a class on Varnashrama. Brahmanas are first class, Kshatriyas second class, Vaishyas third class, Shudras fourth class. Suddenly one German man got up and said, what do you think? You are first class sitting there and giving lecture from the top and we are fourth class sitting below. And when he shouted, some of Prabhupada's German disciples, like powerful guys, they were waiting for opportunity for seva. That after a long time we are getting this opportunity. And they were thinking how we can, jump in. And they looked at Prabhupada and suddenly Prabhupada had tears in his eyes and he folded hands and he said, I am fifth class, servant of all the classes. So Prabhupada could understand. Then in the next program, Prabhupada said, don't put the Vyasasana. So he made that adjustment. He realized, I can't change, the thought process people may have with respect to hierarchical thinking here. But whatever it is, we have to tolerate and move things forward. So Vidura, he tells Dhritarashtra, in his beautiful conversation, Dhritarashtra Vanam Rajan Vyagrah Pandu Sutamata, that the Kauravas are like forest, Pandavas are like the tiger. The tiger has to take shelter of the forest, and the forest is guarded by the tiger. You cannot avoid this combination. Just tolerate the situation and let both coexist. That's what he was telling. Ma vanam chindi sa vyagram ma vyagrani inavavanat. Do not cut the forest and do not kill the tiger. The solution is not to kill the tiger and cut the forest. The solution is allow both to coexist. And therefore, when situations are difficult, one has to tolerate the unchangeable till things change on its own. And the fifth principle is forgive mistakes. And we cannot hope to create a society of devotees unless we are willing to forgive. And forgiveness means to give up resentment against. Forgiveness means to give up the desire to punish. Forgiveness means to stop being angry with. Forgiveness means the act of pardoning someone who has made a mistake. Forgiveness means to overlook. Forgiveness means to refuse to punish. And so the word resentment basically, re means again, sent means sentiment or feeling. So aggrieved feelings caused by someone having badly treated you, we have to overcome that. And revenge comes from the word re means again, and veneer means the punishment of somebody. How? In retaliation of some harm done. And vengeance basically act of returning an injury. So therefore, a famous author writes that forgiveness is the release of all hope of a better past. Forgiveness is the release of all hope of a better past. Past is already gone. You can't improve it. And Chaitanya Prabhu mentions tolerance is giving up your war on reality, calling off your war on reality. There is reality. So, and you are trying to fight it. And then when you realize it cannot be done, call it off. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada was very, very forgiving, and based on this forgiveness only, he could actually push the Krishna consciousness movement far and wide, helping devotees connect with the Krishna consciousness process, coming with their conditionings. I was sharing at the beginning of the lockdown one story of Guru Kripa. At that time, Swami, he was going and making members in Mumbai. He was an aggressive, fundraiser. So he was in Kalpadevi market, and he was a young American Swami standing there, and so people started making fun of him and said, "Hey, you are from America. Do you know Mahabharata?" Well, yeah, Krishna, spoke the Bhagavad Gita. We distribute the Gita. This is the Gita. He showed the Gita, Prabhupada's Gita, and this shopkeeper started arguing with him. Arey, Arjuna is not the hero of Mahabharata. Karna is the real hero. So he says, no, Arjuna is the hero. And then he started defending. He says, no, you don't know Karna. And then these people started making fun of him. So when it became a little too much, he put the Bhagavad Gita down, looked at him, and he said, if you continue glorifying Karna like this and criticizing Arjuna, I will smash my fist on your nose and make you bleed. So these guys got bewildered, and he said, hey, what kind of teaching your guru has given you, and what effect is there on you? You are practicing chanting Hare Krishna and doing all this, but your language is so violent. So he said, what is the improvement? What improvement you have gone through? So he said, the improvement is 5 years ago, I would have taken this chair and hit you by now already. But after 5 years, thanks to Srila Prabhupada's training, I am able to control myself to be able to give you warning that I will smash you. There is a huge improvement. So they immediately said, okay, fine. We'll purchase the Gita. They became member also. So Prabhupada knew that you cannot expect ready-made people to walk in who are all set to do, as per whatever is the right protocol and everything. Prabhupada would allow them to get transformed gradually. He was willing to forgive them repeatedly, make mistakes, learn from it, grow from it. And therefore he mentioned very important thing, that always think of Krishna and how to portray Krishna in front of people. And therefore we cannot advance in Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada said, by the laws of one's own skill, but one can advance based on one's faith and sincerity. Faith and sincerity is what will help one. Somebody wrote a resignation letter to Prabhupada. I am resigning. Prabhupada, when he saw that, Prabhupada mentioned 4 points. He said, you are resigning from your service to Krishna. Number 1, you have dedicated your life to Krishna. Number 2, you are thinking of resigning from your Krishna conscious duty. And then 3, Prabhupada said, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. After many, many lifetimes, someone has come to Krishna. And you are thinking, you will resign? And then he said, 4th, you should think this Krishna consciousness is my father's business. And therefore, I have to do it. And resigning means you have not realized the importance of what you are doing. And therefore, you must realize this importance. So Prabhupada, was in London. Prabhupada was in Hawaii. And when he was on the morning walk, people were saying, good morning, good morning, good morning. Prabhupada turned to his disciples, do you know what is meaning of good morning? He says, no, it began in England. Everything was dark. Hardly the sun would come out. So when sometime the sun would come out, they will say good morning. So therefore, the dark cloud of the material world is also a dark place. And what is a dark cloud? The dark cloud in this material world, which is covering the consciousness of the jiva, is the desire of the jiva to be the master. The desire of the jiva to be the master is the dark cloud, which is covering the bright sun-like consciousness. And therefore, when Prabhupada was in Krishna Balram temple opening, there was a huge crowd which came. And the governor was there for the opening. He was standing right in front. They had cordoned off specific space for the governor and all. But the crowd was so much and they pushed so much that even there was a push on the governor and he almost kind of fell and the security had to hold him. And, Yaduvar Prabhu's wife, Vishaka Devi, she was trying to capture a picture of Prabhupada doing the Aarti. She has seen the famous picture of Prabhupada doing the Aarti of Krishna Balram with his, full garlands and everything. But she could not find a place. And right in front, there was this devotee who was standing there, Trivikram Swami, our Tripurari Swami. And what had happened was, in the previous December marathon, this Krishna Balram temple opened on Ram Navami, April. So in the previous December marathon, they had made a declaration, whoever wins the marathon, the reward is you will get to stand right in front. during Krishna Balram temple opening and watch Prabhupada do Aarti. So that was the reward. So they had worked very hard to get that. So he was standing right in front, watching Prabhupada do that, and Mataji was right behind, and then there was no way she could find the right angle to capture Prabhupada. So she just requested him, can you step aside a little bit so that I can take a picture? He said, I have been working 3 months to win the marathon so that I can be at this spot. I'm not going to exchange this for anything. She said, if you are standing there, you get to see Prabhupada. If you step aside 1 foot, the whole world will see Prabhupada for all time to come in future. He looked at her and said, okay, and moved aside. And in pursuance of the cause of the future, we can make sacrifices. And therefore, the forgiveness which we show to others who have just connected to Krishna consciousness and who make mistakes in Krishna consciousness will enable them to progress in their journey. And tomorrow, those personalities may do something revolutionary for the parampara, for Krishna consciousness movement, for Mahaprabhu's movement, which we cannot even imagine. So therefore, these are the 5 principles which I wanted to share. The first is that we have to appreciate the past. Second, we have to empower the potential. Third, we have to respect the differences. Fourth, we have to tolerate the unchangeable. And fifth is, we have to forgive the mistakes. And Srila Prabhupada established a global Krishna Conscious Society, ISKCON, by actually facilitating all of these 5 principles. And therefore, in such a short span of time, in 11 years, he created a global movement. On the occasion of his upcoming Appearance Day celebrations, I offer my prayers of gratitude at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada for giving us the Gaudiya Vaishnava understanding in English language and consequently in other languages of all these literatures which were all hidden in Sanskrit and Bengali. And not just the philosophy, because so many acharyas have given commentaries, philosophy. But Srila Prabhupada not just gave us Sambandh Gyan of the books, but he gave us facility for Abhideya by creating a society, an international society for Krishna consciousness. So I express my gratitude to His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada for giving us the ISKCON society, without which we could not have the facility to practice Krishna consciousness in such a user-friendly manner. And I offer my prayers to Srila Prabhupada that he empower us in this journey of our own personal Krishna consciousness and empower us to share our experiences to whatever insignificant extent it may be possible with others who connect with ISKCON, who connect with the association of devotees. Make our efforts to share Krishna consciousness. Give us the ability to appreciate, to tolerate, to forgive, to respect, and to empower as per our capacity, so that we can also try to share in a small way what He has done with the whole world. Today, ISKCON is filled with devotees who are extremely talented. And therefore, one of the challenges we face in today's ISKCON is how do we engage and empower such talented devotees. And in today's leadership context, one cannot be an effective leader in ISKCON if one does not have these 3 skills. The first skill is the ability to deal with uncertainty, because the world is changing in such a fast, rapid manner There is total uncertainty about what's coming up tomorrow and what's coming up day after tomorrow. So the leader, has to have the ability to deal with uncertainty. Today, ISKCON is filled with diversity. We have people from all parts of the world, from all different kinds of backgrounds, you know, West, America, Europe, all continents are covered and all of them assembled together. And even if you see, countries are becoming pretty cosmopolitan. There are Indians settled in the West, in Europe, in America, in all the places, and Westerners are coming and settling down in India. Mayapur is, and Vrindavan is filled, and many others would also be part of this community in the future. So, one of the core elements to deal with is diversity. So, leadership skills would include the ability to deal with diversity, to be able to deal with, diverse kinds of personalities. And the third, apart from uncertainty and diversity, is the ability to deal with talent. Because very highly qualified people are connecting, or highly educated, coming from very highly sophisticated, successful career backgrounds. How will they be feeling a sense of engagement, absorption, and contribution? So, how do leaders engage with talented people without feeling threatened or without feeling insecure, without feeling that, okay, what will happen if such a person grows in their area of service and their, activities? So, we have potentially thousands of devotees across the world who are very, very in the congregations, who are more talented and more able to do many things than even those who are leading within the temple sometimes. So therefore we have to be able to deal with that. So if we cannot deal with talent, diversity, and uncertainty, we cannot really effectively deal in today's context. And therefore we need Srila Prabhupada's unlimited mercy to be able to deal with the next 5 to 10 years of tremendous uncertainty, change, which we as a society are going to witness as the generation is going to change, and those who had the privilege of direct association with Srila Prabhupada, as they become older and older and as the changes manifest, we need to be able to have the ability to deal with that situation. And as Prabhupada said, ISKCON is non-different from my body. How we continue serving Srila Prabhupada's body, even though we may see certain changes which we may perceive as painful and difficult to experience, to tolerate, to accept, and to be able to conceive, to live in those situations. So more than any time before, as the world is going through this pandemic, we are going to be seeing a historic, strange Janmashtami celebration, and we are not even sure what kind of other strange situations await us in the future. We need the grace and the blessings of Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas more than ever before to maintain our stability, our faith, our own enthusiasm to practice Krishna consciousness in the midst of all these situations, as he himself negotiated so many changes right from the 20s and 30s, where Gaudiya Math was at its peak, where every day was like a festival centered around Saraswati Thakur. The Acharya was there. There was no doubt. For any doubt, connect with the Acharya. He gives his opinion, cloud of doubt goes away. 1936, December 31st, Saraswati Thakur disappeared. And then, suddenly within a few years, The court case began. And Prabhupada saw all of that. And then, those parikramas were during Saraswati Thakur's time, 15, 20,000 people would be on a parikrama in Navdeep. Thousands of disciples, someone say 60,000 disciples, whatever. Gaudiya Math had seen Achhe Din. Then Gaudiya Math saw the court cases. And so, with time, things change. And as things change, the more things change, the more we need to embrace things that do not change. And therefore, this is the time more than any time before to take shelter of Srila Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada's purports, understand the core elements of the philosophy so that we can remain grounded. Because externally, organizational changes may happen, but the philosophy does not change, the practice does not change. The mood of being a servant to please Krishna and the Vaishnavas, that principle of trying to serve and please does not change. The details of the service, of how we are instructed and expected to do service, that may continuously change. Therefore, we pray to Srila Prabhupada that we are able to remain in that consciousness of being a servant. And as he adapted himself through all those continuous changes to make sure that the will of Srila Saraswati Thakur did not lose from his vision, we should also not lose from that our own vision, that we need to remain a servant to the will of Srila Prabhupada and his followers. Thank you very much. This is my Vyas Puja offering to Srila Prabhupada on Prabhupada's appearance day. So you need not call upon me in the festival. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Gaur Premanande.